Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin. Check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Gold and Blued, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. TCU, you think that you have everybody fooled, but you don't. I know what's going on here. And yes, you did win again. You beat Texas Tech. You remain undefeated, and depending on what happens with the scores above you, you could jump up to the 4th spot. You could be labeled as a playoff contender in the coming weeks. As of the shooting of this particular video at halftime, Clemson's losing to Notre Dame 14-0, so that could be a spot for you. Number 6 Alabama is losing at number 10 LSU 7-6 at halftime. That could bump you up another spot. Number 5, Michigan losing to Rutgers 17-14 in the second quarter. So, yeah, that could bump you up yet another spot. And, of course, earlier today, number 1, Tennessee went on the road and lost to number 3, Georgia 27-13. So, depending on the outcome of the rest of these scores, you could be bumped all the way up to as high as number 4. Number 4. So, people will be talking about TCU possibly being a playoff team and representing the Big 12. TCU is not a playoff team, okay? They have gotten better throughout the year. Let's go through their schedule real quick. First off, at Colorado, beat Colorado 38-13. Turns out Colorado is really, really bad. If you're as good as we really think you are, you should have whooped Colorado by 50. I mean, you beat them convincingly on the road, 38-13, but you should have beat them by more than that. After that, FCS Tarleton, 59-17. How does a playoff contender allow an FCS scrub like Tarleton to score 17 points? Shouldn't have happened. After that, at SMU, 42-34. Again, how do you allow SMU to score 34 points if you're a playoff contender? All right, then it gets into the meat of your schedule, the Big 12 schedule. Number 18, Oklahoma, 55-24. Yes, you beat them, you whooped them, but Oklahoma is not good. They're not really a ranked team. At number 19, Kansas, 38-31. You did beat Kansas full strength 38-31. I'll give you credit there. Then you beat number 8 Oklahoma State at home 43-40 in double overtime. But remember, you were down to Oklahoma State 24-7 in the second quarter, and you were still down to Oklahoma State 30-16 in the third quarter. It took an epic comeback, but you did it. You came back. You beat them, right? Playoff caliber team, right? I'm still not convinced. After that, number 17 Kansas State. You beat them 38-28. You were down to Kansas State 28-10 in the second. So, yes, another comeback. Then at West Virginia, 41-31. I'll get back to that in a minute. And then finally, Texas Tech, 34-24. So, a decent win over Texas Tech. Remaining schedule after this. At number 24, Texas. At Baylor. And then Iowa State. So, you do have a couple of road tests at Texas and at Baylor. And Texas is looking really good on the road to Kansas State tonight. So that's going to be a big-time test. But for the most part, your path to the playoffs is relatively simple. Win out, go on the road and beat Texas, and then beat whoever you end up playing in the Big 12 Championship, whether it ends up being a rematch against Texas, a rematch against Kansas State, a rematch against Oklahoma State. It will be a rematch against one of those teams. The problem that I'm having is, number 1, looking at your stats, and number 2, the officiating. Gold and Blued is going to go there? Yeah, I'm going to go there. Listen, TCU does not have a good defense. Let me go over the stats real quick, all right? TCU is averaging 44.2 points per game. That's third. That's a really good offense, but they are allowing 27.2 points per game, which is 75th. That's not a playoff defense. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and whoever else, Ohio State, Clemson, whoever else you want to lump in there. 75th. That is not a playoff defense. How is TCU still undefeated? Well, if you watched my live show earlier, I kind of gave you the roadmap as to why TCU keeps winning. Here's the problem with TCU's defense. They're very physical and they're very in your face. And if you watch a game involving TCU's defense, they are, without a doubt, pass interfering the entire game. The entire game. Here's what happens. The refs are calling it in the first half, right? Flag, pass interference. Flag, pass interference. But guess what? TCU just keeps doing it, and the refs are like, well, maybe this is legal. I mean, they do it so much. Maybe this is legal. Maybe we should stop throwing the flag. I mean, there were several touchdowns, incompletions, whatever you want to call it, that Texas Tech threw. Interference, 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 interference. And the refs stopped throwing the flags. I guess this has to be a psychological, subliminal type of thing. Because in the first half, they throw the flag. I mean, you can trace this back to the Oklahoma State and Kansas State game. Whenever they were throwing the flags in the first half, but not in the second half. This is why TCU is able to come back on people. Because they stay physical. They keep pass interfering play after play after play after play. And the refs just get used to it. Well, I mean, if we keep throwing the flag, then we're going to keep throwing the flag on every play. Then throw the flag on every play. And show TCU they have got to stop pass interfering everybody. Because that's exactly what's going on. And I'm also convinced that TCU watches Gold and Blue Dude. Yeah, I am convinced that they watch Gold and Blue Dude. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm basically talking about the past 2 weeks. I don't know about before that, but over the past 2 weeks, TCU has been watching Gold and Blue Dude. What do I mean by that? Well, whenever TCU came to Morgantown, I took TCU to win, but I didn't think that they would cover. They were favored by 7. 20 seconds left in that game. It was a 4th and 1, I think. They drew West Virginia offsides. All they have to do is snap the ball and hand it off or whatever. Some safe play. First down, game over. What do? They take a shot in the end zone that they didn't need to take. And of course, yes, he catches it. And they extend the lead to 10. And boom, West Virginia doesn't cover. They didn't need to do that. Just hike the ball. West Virginia's offsides. Ball game. You didn't need to take an extra shot. I'm telling you. Watching Gold and Blue Dude. You knew Gold and Blue Dude took TCU, but not to cover. Now, let's move on to this week. Same thing. I took TCU, but I didn't think that they would cover. The final line was 9. Texas Tech in 9 points. And I took Texas Tech in 9 points, but I didn't think that they would win. What happens? Well, I'm not sure if they were up by 7 or 10 at the time, but it was like 4th and goal from the 15. From the 15, and they take a shot in the end zone, and they make it basically impossible for Texas Tech to cover. Why would you? I mean, listen, you go for the field goal there, and it's a 2-possession game, or you just it's either a 10-point lead or a 13-point lead. But no. They go for the touchdown on a 4th and goal from the 15. That makes no sense unless they're watching Gold and Blue Dude and they knew that Gold and Blue Dude took the points. I'm telling you, I am convinced that TCU has been watching Gold and Blue Dude over the past 2 weeks, and they have been screwing up my picks whenever it comes to TCU. 100% convinced. Now, moving forward, if somehow, some way, TCU does get into the playoffs, because I think the Big 12 refs are really trying to get TCU into the playoffs because everybody else has fallen. Well, we were kind of depending on Oklahoma State, but nope, they're not looking good. Kansas State, nope, they got a couple of losses. Texas was supposed to be better. Nope, it's not happening for Texas. Oklahoma is way out of it. I mean, Kansas had a chance there for a while. They were undefeated, but they've lost several in a row. So Kansas is out of the picture. It has to be TCU. So let's shelter TCU. We have to shelter them. We'll make it look like this is fair officiating, and we'll throw the flags in the first half. Pass interference. But we will stop throwing those flags in the second half, and that's how we can allow TCU to keep winning these football games. Yes, I do believe that is the case. Look at the stats. Look them up. TCU has a good offense. There is no doubt about that. 44.2 points per game. That is third. But they have a terrible defense. They allow 27.2 points per game. That is 75th. That is not a playoff caliber defense. Playoff committee, listen to me. I don't care if TCU goes undefeated. I'm telling you right now, if you allow them to get to the playoffs, they will get exposed and they will get blown out. And maybe it will be out of the playoff committee's hand and they do go undefeated. We have to put them in gold and blue, dude. We have to. I understand. There's only so many undefeated teams, and maybe TCU ends up being one of those undefeated teams, and your hand is forced, and you have to force them in. But I'm telling you, if they grab a loss, and it's an either-or situation, pick the other team, because you will regret putting TCU into the playoffs. They will get blown out. And on top of that, they're still not getting a lot of support. Their stadium holds 46,000. You know how much showed up today? 44,760. That's 97%. Their stadium doesn't even hold 50,000 right now, and they couldn't fill it up. So if you send TCU to the playoffs, and it's splitting hairs type of thing, both have one loss or both undefeated, we'll stick TCU in there. You're not going to get many eyeballs because for whatever reason, TCU just does not get the fan support. I mean, it's right there. Look it up. They couldn't even fill up a 46,000 seat stadium. All right? So yes, 100% TCU is a fraud. Their defense is bad. The refs keep them in these football games. They stop throwing the flags. And they still don't get 100% support when they're undefeated. They were undefeated. This was a home game for TCU. They were undefeated, 97%. That is shameful. The Carter, as they call it, should be overflowing. They should have packed over 50,000 fans in that stadium, and they couldn't sell it out. That is shameful. Y'all let me know in the comments section. Number 1, do you think that TCU is a playoff caliber team? Number 2, do you think the refs have been, kind of helping TCU along the way? And number 3, if TCU does get into the playoffs, do you think they actually get blown out? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.